our first guest, is an architect who creates beautiful homes in the West Coast modernist style. But he has another side to his life, and he takes on extreme wilderness adventures, like his trip to the South Pole, like kayaking down the Mackenzie River, or biking on volcanoes on Java Island. And each of his adventures he imbues with meaning and purpose. Please welcome Kevin Vallely.
They're just chickens of the sea. The stupid anti-global warming morons are at it again. They're being driven to madness by green scumbags with a profit agenda. I was 10 days into my journey across the NorthWest Passage when I read these words. Words of hatred, words of anger, words of intolerance. Anonymous words directed at us. You see, myself and my 3 teammates were attempting to do something that had never been done before. We were attempting to traverse the infamous NorthWest Passage solely under human power in a single season. We never dreamed doing this would elicit such hatred and anger. You see, the NorthWest Passage is iconic for us as Canadians. The quest to find the passage has established our country as it is today. Think of the names: Jacques Cartier, Baffin, Hudson, Mackenzie, Franklin, George Vancouver. All explorers that helped map our country, all explorers that were attempting to find the NorthWest Passage, and all explorers that didn't succeed. And of course they didn't succeed. You see, the NorthWest Passage has been impassable forever. It's choked in ice. Think of it. Franklin's doomed expedition 170 years ago, the Erebus and the Terror, 350-ton warships stuck in that ice, crushed and sunk. The concept of the NorthWest Passage was simply that, a concept, and not a reality. But things have changed. You see, NASA fires these satellites over our North Pole and has been doing for decades. And every time at the end of the summer when the ice contracts to its minimum amount, it takes a snapshot. And here you can see a snapshot. This is in 1984, folks. Well, 30 years later, this is the change in the NorthWest Passage. It's profound change. And the change in the ice means a change in our world. Yet no one's noticing this. Back in 2009, myself and 2 teammates skied to the South Pole. We traversed to the South Pole faster than anyone in history, shaving 5 days off the previous world record. At the end of it, we garnered 1.5 billion, with a B, media impressions. 1 in 5 people on this planet got wind of the fact that we had skied to the South Pole. And it was an aha moment for me. It's like, wouldn't it be amazing if you can take an adventure like this and actually connect something really powerful to it? What happens if I traverse the NorthWest Passage solely under human power in a single season in a rowboat that has never been done before because it could never have been done before? That would scream to the changes happening in the Arctic. So sitting there in Tuktoyaktuk after 10 days, I was on my heels. My teammates were as well. It's like we were questioning everything at this point. And then we began to speak to the elders. And the elders told us something very different. And this became the dichotomy of our 55-day journey. The haters, the disbelievers, the deniers screaming at us that we were insane, that climate change didn't exist, and then the people of the Arctic who would tell us otherwise. They spoke to us about their homes melting into the permafrost, of the graves tumbling into the ocean, of a winter season shrinking by 3 weeks on either end, of things they've never seen before, animals they've never seen before, of this new bear in town, the growler or Pizzly bear. It's an interbred bear between grizzly bears and polar bears. It's real, and it's the symbol of a changing Arctic. And you see, these people had no agenda. They were just saying it the way it was. Yet, we're not listening. And why? Well, frankly, it's always been that way. Since European times, European settlers have always looked on the Inuit in some way as, well, there was a sense of paternalism. You know, what do they know? In 2007, I had the opportunity to travel to King William Island and look for the remains of the Franklin crew. I met Louis Kamakuk, Arctic historian, who took us out to this tiny little islet. And he showed us out there, and he showed us graves. And I saw a jawbone that I picked up and put it on my face, only to realize what I was doing to put it down again. I saw a skull sitting out in the sand. And Louis said to me, "These are not my people. Our oral history says this is from the Franklin crew." I remember Louis telling me 2 weeks after that, he was going to head out into the Queen Maud Gulf of the Northwest Passage. He was going to head out in his 15-foot little motorboat to look for the Erebus and the Terror. And I remember I was incredulous. I said, "How could you possibly do this? It's insane. This is 1,000 square kilometers of the roughest ocean in the world. How can you possibly do this, Louis? We've been trying to do this for the last 150 years. And he looked at me blankly. And he said, "You see, Kevin, in my language, there's an island out there we call Umiak-Talik. And Umiak-Talik means place of the boat. That's where I'm going to look." What? You mean no one's looked there yet? No one has looked there yet. This is the attitude to the Inuit oral history. And it went on. He said, in fact, it's in shallow water. That's what they say. And in fact, the masts were visible for 2 seasons until the ice knocked them down. Well, on September 2nd, 2014, they found the HMS Erebus. It was close to Umiak-Talik. And in fact, it was sitting nicely, perfect with its hull on the ocean floor in 10 meters of water. The mast, which would have been 30 meters high, would have been soaring over the ocean surface for 2 seasons, I suppose, until the ice knocked them over. Louis Kamakuk, 58, passed away just 10 weeks ago. He was integral in solving one of maritime's greatest mysteries. But for me, Louis' legacy is much more important than that. His legacy speaks to validating the word of his people. The Inuit have a word called alira. And we don't have a definition, equivalent English definition for this word. It's a unique word. It's an emotion. It's an emotion that I experienced when I was rowing down into Franklin Bay and saw this 100-ton, 60-foot bowhead whale come right up beside me and disappear again. Alira is this sensation that when sitting on the beaches of Dauphin and Union Strait, there was this grizzly bear that was 11 feet high at 1,200 pounds, took notice of us, and started to come out to us. Alira is the flush of fear that comes with awe. Climate change is an existential crisis for mankind. 97% of scientists say it's happening, and we're causing it. Oceans are warming, oceans are rising. Glaciers are receding, Arctic ice is melting. We have governments talking tough and talking like climate champions, yet still building pipelines. The reality is, regardless of the Paris Accords saying we're going to go to 2 degrees Celsius, the fact is we're going to reach 4 degrees Celsius by the end of this century, according to scientists. This means the last time the Earth was at 4 degrees Celsius, there was no ice at the North Pole. There was no ice at the South Pole. The seas were 250 feet higher than they are today. The problem, the overwhelming magnitude of the problem of climate change is as frightening as it is awe-inspiring. Alira. Alira can incapacitate and overwhelm, but it can also energize and inspire. Are we going to with fear, are we going to keep our heads buried in the sand moving forward just like we have in denying and being frightened? Or are we going to be inspired to do something hugely, humanly, that only human beings can do? To have the foresight, to have the selflessness, to just have the humanity, to make changes now that we won't see in our lifetime, just to ensure that our kids and our kids' kids will be safe. and the future of the world will be safe as well. Climate change is real. Climate change is here. Climate change is happening right now. How we deal with it is up to us. Thank you very much.